Cervantes wrote a book during the Baroque period called Don Quixote de la Mancha. Don Quixote de la Mancha. And it is about a endearing old man who becomes um, insane because he read all these books about chivalry, and that was it. So he thinks he's a chivalrous knight, and it's sweet and it's endearing. And the reason it was so influential is because it seems to me that he put the Spanish language in literary excellence for the first time. People really saw what you could do with this language and write a fantastic story. Another author that was also very influential, not during this time, the Baroque time, but during the 18th century, during the Napoleon era, I believe. And his name is the Marquis de Sade. He is a French author who spent most of his life in prison because he was so obscene, and his philosophies bled into his life. There are many documents of women saying they have been kidnapped and tortured and raped by this man. And I mean, that's that. I would put him in prison too. So now his stories are something other that are just as bad, just as bad as him. His whole philosophy is vice and virtue, and atheism, and he hates clergymen. Let's say he really hates clergymen. So he has two books, we'll say, in particular. And one is Justine, and the other is Juliet. And they are kind of companion pieces, I guess. And he wrote them both in prison, I believe. And he is it. The books are about two sisters, Justine and Juliet. Now, Justine is the epitome of virtue. She follows her God blindly and has the most horrible shit happen to her. Every person she meets, man or female, end up raping and torturing and just destroying her in every way possible. They're defiling virtue. That is the point. It is not to be erotic. It is not to be sexy. It is to make a point. He is this spoiled little aristocrat boy who's, gonna make the most extreme situation to hone in his point. Now, Juliet is her sister. Now, she is the epitome of vice. I have not read this one. And she chooses vice over virtue, and she has a great life. She has the best life. And in Professor Conrad's paper, it seems that she herself became a clergyman or like the leader of the Vatican. That's how well she did. Oh my gosh. So not only did he write that, another influence that the Marquis de Sade has had is he is really the encyclopedia, the start of the encyclopedia. And what I mean by encyclopedia is, Kraft. Kraft Ebbing's Sexualis Psychopathia, the Kinsey reports, this catalog of insane sexual acts, really. Everything under the sun that a person could do in regarding anything sexual. He wrote 120 Days of Sodom, which is about four aristocrats kidnapping a ton, like 20 kids or something, 20 people, and they each day they do like a monstrous act on each other, and it's an incomplete story, and it's a rough ride. I don't suggest it. So why is he so important? Well, his philosophies surrounding that vice cannot live without virtue, and flip-flopped, virtue cannot live without vice, is important. His atheism is important. He wanted to start something about materialism, and it's a little too complicated for it. Kind of goes over my head. I'm not quite sure how to define materialism, but he did not like the Catholic religion, and it is apparent in his writings. He has influenced so much, not just with the encyclopedia, but with, the debate. Is he a philosopher? Is he a pervert? And so not only that, we have, films today like Eyes Wide Shut, and the mythos of the aristocrats having occult sex parties, which, we are seeing bleed out today. The mythos of the libertine is coming back. We have these aristocrats who are having sexual occult parties, allegedly. I don't know. I'm trying to keep up with everything. So it really started with the Marquis de Sade, and that, you know, we still see to this day. And I'm not here to defend the guy or anything. The author cut action. There's a foreword in this book that says basically reading the Marquis de Sade is like going into a reptile room. You have these very venomous creatures and just a thin plate of glass, and that's what's like reading the Marquis de Sade. He's a lot. He's a lot. I don't suggest doing it. Look, he is not an erotic author. There is nothing erotic that he's writing, and I don't think his point is to be erotic. His point is to literally defoul virtue and the church and everybody else who doesn't, mostly women. He's a misogynist, a product of his time, the French aristocrat, a libertine. So we will see cut action. So to conclude this, we see that the Marquis de Sade has troubled debaters alike, philosophy or pervert. Well, in my opinion, like, he's both. He's both. He's a spoiled little aristocrat running around with his little gross stories, and he's kind of a troll. He's trolling people. He's like, what's the most exaggerated situation I can do to hone in my shitty point. And his books, look, they're not they're not a great read. They're, a lot of them are repetitive, quite boring. He's not this, prolific writer. It's him and his philosophies. We don't read because he has such an eloquent way of sentences. He's a boring writer. He's a repetitive writer, and it gets to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so bored. You have an obscene scene come up, and you're like, oh, finally, okay, and you're not even mad about it. You're happy. You're like, finally, I can get away from this, 3-page repetitive monologue of a priest and get to this orgy. That's what it's like reading the Marquis de Sade. He's not there to turn you on. He's there to hone in what he thinks is a better world, and that's what's fascinating about him. That he's an actually clinically insane man, and this is a look into his head. This is a look into a criminal's mind, and he was an activist he did things. He was in the army. So he's a very interesting man. I prefer Cervantes. I prefer reading Don Quixote. I don't prefer reading the Marquis de Sade. I do love finding something new about him every time, though. I do love researching him. I do love, the debate. I love it. So try him out. If not, let it be.